Hey, Chad, welcome to the Get in the Mode podcast.
Thanks, David. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, for the benefit of our listeners and audience, can you introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about your company?
Yeah, would love to. So I'm Chad Doerge. I'm the Chief Revenue Officer and President of a SaaS fintech company called Aiera. We started about 4.5 years ago. We were born out of the world of Wall Street investment research. And we've created a product that allows financial research people, whether they're in asset management, sell-side research, corporate finance, to more effectively manage the massive amount of qualitative data that comes at them on a daily basis, and into which they must be finely tuned to do their job properly. So the management and monitoring of Wall Street events is a big part of what we do differently. And just to give you a little context for anyone who doesn't follow the space closely, there's sort of almost an overwhelming amount of events where management teams, company management teams, present to stakeholders. Every publicly traded US company is required by the SEC to report earnings 4 times a year, and most of those companies have conference calls. Those companies also present at lots of other conferences, many of them hosted by global banks. And so we dial in and transcribe those events in real time. And we do a lot of things using natural language processing to pull out information that's really relevant to our customers.
I know when we talked, you succeeded at product market fit. Walk us through that journey of what it was like, being a SaaS company. I feel like that's probably the number one challenge SaaS companies face before they, get the traction. So maybe if you could walk us through that journey, that'd be
Sure.
great.
Yeah, and it didn't happen without a pivot. When we first started, what we were doing was using machine learning to understand the velocity of information that was happening around each given company, and through that, trying to find a predictive value. So what was the likelihood of a stock moving up or down based on some of those metrics? And the numbers were actually very good. We had a lot of interest from sort of the customer base, if you will, but it didn't really fit with the fundamental active investors out there. And I think the reason for that is that machine learning doesn't do a very good job of explaining itself. So the why is very important. If there is a prediction for movement in an equity, it needs to be boiled down into a human digestible why, and it needs to fit into a thesis. And so maybe 9 months after we started, we actually began to do much more around speech to text, and essentially becoming a productivity suite where we could help our investors to just find that information and acquire knowledge around events, news, filings, all of that content in an easier way. And so that is where we found the product fit. That is where we're most engaged with our customers today.
I'm curious, like we see a lot of AI-based companies coming up with advancements in AI. And I should say machine learning. AI is more umbrella term, but obviously that gets thrown around in a lot of SaaS products. From that perspective of trust in machine learning, right? I think that's like in your case particularly, are these signals that the machine learning algorithms and models are prompting in terms of prediction, how accurate is that, right? The trust in that, in the accuracy of the sentiment analysis that you're performing. How do you think, maybe first, if you can talk about your company's way of addressing that trust hurdle, and perhaps maybe if you can extrapolate that to perhaps other companies, what are the other ways that companies can address that potential hurdle or challenge?
Obviously, there's some incredible use cases for machine learning. Even in the world of asset management where we focus, the quantitative side of asset management has done a great job over the last decade of finding ways to effectively use ML. On the fundamental side, it's slower going, I would say. The idea of sort of an automated research analyst, which was the original acronym for our company, an AI equity research analyst. It just isn't there because of the things I mentioned before, but it's not there to make predictions, I would say. But it's getting very close in other ways to improve efficiency. For instance, we've been working, Brian Healy, who's our co-founder and CTO, has been building a summary model where we can take an event that lasts for an hour and a transcript, which is 12 to 15 pages, and now boil it down into bullet points, and even bullet points that are positive or negative. And so those are ways that I think we can help the fundamental set, and they can trust that in a different way than they can trust a prediction. In a way, trying to predict something for a fundamental user is sort of going a step too far and actually trying to do their job, right?
Thank you for being a great guest on the Get in the Mode podcast, Chad. Thanks for being on.
Thank you so much, David. Thanks for having me. I appreciate it.